Hello, everyone. Welcome to Interbeing Sangha here at the Meditation Center on June the 21st, 2020. So happy to see that there are a few people who are joining us. And if you'd like to kind of sign in the chat box, that would be great. So, hello, James. Glad you're here. Um, this has been a really beautiful day. Started out with some rain that we needed, and I hope that all of you who wanted to celebrate Father's Day had a chance to do that. So um, let's begin. Let's kind of bring our breathing back together and listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Thank you. So I want to welcome Carrie, Barbara, Heather, Catherine, Louise, Jen Lee. So good to see that you've put aside a little time to be with us on Sunday afternoon. I'm going to begin by reading our opening affirmation. Noble community, we gather here now to honor the way of peace and nonviolence, the way of wisdom and compassion, the way of joy and beauty, in solidarity with one another, with all humanity, and with all life on earth. Friends on the path, we gather here now to deepen our solidity like a mountain and to renew our freshness like a flower. Through mindful sitting and walking, mindful singing and breathing, and mindful speaking and listening. Family of awakening, we gather here now to celebrate the one infinite light that shines through many religions and many cultures, to cultivate the wisdom of our many teachers, both ancestral and contemporary, and to affirm the capacity within ourselves and all persons of every race, gender, orientation, and tradition to realize full and complete enlightenment. So thank you for joining in. If you knew a little bit of that, maybe we should send you the new affirmation. It's slightly different at the end, and then you'd be able to say it with us at home. So I want to also welcome Rita and Neil and Michael. All right, cool. So nice that everybody has decided to join us this evening. I came across this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh that I'd like to just read to you because I think it's so beautiful and it's so important in this time that we're living through. This is what he said. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the suffering that is going on around us, Let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Sounds like he could have written that this morning. I don't know when it was written, but it's certainly relevant to us today. So let's welcome Julie, and we'll prepare for our guided meditation in just a minute. I wanted to wait just a couple more minutes to see if other people join us, because sometimes people have little technical difficulties or they forget what time it is. So we're just going to give them another minute or two. Maybe we should sing the Medicine Buddha chant while we're waiting for people to arrive. That's certainly something we can all benefit from at this time. So you wonder why we're doing. I'm getting the little tapper. Now where am I going to put him? Om Namo Bhagavate Vaishya Guru Vaidurya Prabharashaya Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaishya Vaishya Maha Vaishya Raja Samugate Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaishya Guru Vaidurya Prabharashaya Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaishya Maha Vaishya Raja Samugate Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaishya Guru Vaidurya Prabharashaya Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaishya Maha Vaishya Raja Samugate Swaha. So let's prepare for our guided meditation. Finding your comfortable place, whether you're sitting or lying down. Just don't get so comfortable that you'll fall asleep. And since this is Father's Day, I'm going to use one of Thich Nhat Hanh's meditations that addresses our relationship to our fathers and our mothers. Some of us had wonderful relationships with our fathers, but not everybody did. And so this meditation may actually help to begin a reconciliation, whether your father is still alive or not. So I hope you enjoy this guided meditation and watch the altar or close your eyes. Just be however you'd like to be. So let's begin our meditation with attention to the breath. Just being aware of where it is you feel the breath in your body. Certainly we can feel our chests expand as we breathe in and relax when we breathe out. You might also feel the rise and fall of the breath in your abdomen. Now let's pay attention a little bit to the body, noticing if your shoulders are tense. Just let your shoulders drop. Notice if there's any tension in your face, particularly around your eyes. And let your eyes, all the muscles in your cheeks and jaws, just let go and soften. Do this all with a very kind spirit, being kind to yourself. No judgment if your shoulders are tense. Just begin as much as you can to let them relax. Feel the surface upon what you're sitting or lying down. Just feel your connection of your body with whatever you're sitting on or lying on. In this meditation, there will be a sentence giving you something to contemplate, and then time to do that contemplation. Seeing myself as a 5-year-old child, I breathe in. Smiling to the 5-year-old child, I breathe out. Myself, 5 years old, smiling. Seeing the 5-year-old me as fragile and vulnerable, I breathe in. Smiling with love to the 5-year-old me, I breathe out. 5-year-old, fragile, smiling with love. Seeing my father as a 5-year-old boy, I breathe in. Smiling to my father as a 5-year-old boy, I breathe out. Father, 5 years old, smiling. Seeing my 5-year-old father as fragile and vulnerable, I breathe in. Smiling with love and understanding to my father as a 5-year-old boy, I breathe out. Father, fragile and vulnerable, smiling with love and understanding. Seeing my mother as a 5-year-old girl, I breathe in. Smiling to my mother as a 5-year-old girl, I breathe out. Mother, 5 years old, smiling. Seeing my mother, my 5-year-old mother, as fragile and vulnerable, I breathe in, smiling with love and understanding to my mother as a 5-year-old girl, I breathe out. Mother, fragile and vulnerable, smiling with love and understanding. Seeing my father suffering as a child, I breathe in. Seeing my mother suffering as a child, I breathe out. Father suffering as a child, mother suffering as a child. Seeing my father in me, I breathe in. Smiling to my father in me, I breathe out. Father in me, smiling. Seeing my mother in me, I breathe in. Smiling to my mother in me, I breathe out. Mother in me, smiling. Understanding the difficulties that the Father in me has, I breathe in, determined to work for the release of both my Father and me, I breathe out. Difficulties of Father in me, releasing Father and me. Understanding the difficulties that my mother in me has, I breathe in, determined to work for the release of both my mother and me. I breathe out. Difficulties of mother in me, releasing mother and me. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be at peace. Brahma Vihara Maitri. Brahma Vihara Maitri. Brahma Vihara Karuna. Brahma Vihara Karuna. Brahma Vihara Mudita. Brahma Vihara Mudita. Brahma Vihara Upeksha. Brahma Vihara Upeksha. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be joyful. May all beings be at peace. 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 So if you'd like to continue with the suggestion, you can put the first name of your father figure into the chat window. And so I see that so far we are welcoming Charles and Warren and Alex and Chuck. So you can continue to do that while we do the next part of our service. So Neil wrote Abe. So let's do our chant to the three jewels. We take refuge in the awakening heart of infinite light, that which shows us the way in this life. We take refuge in the awakening path of infinite light, the way of understanding and of love. We take refuge in the awakening community of infinite light, those who live in harmony and awareness. Thank you, dear friends, for your practice. I know we don't see each other yet, but I'm hoping all of you will move over to the Zoom platform with us so that we can see you and talk with you. Some of you, oh, Catherine, you're welcome. You're welcome. That meditation has always helped me as well. And Jennifer's father figure is Jim, and Rita wrote Espedito. It's kind of small, Rita. It's just kind of hard for me to read it. And Stephanie says, buddy. Okay, this is great. I love that you're doing this. You know, if we were here together, you would have been invited to bring a picture of your father figure, and then we would have those on the altar. But this is good. This is very good. So we're welcoming Pat and James Sr. You know, all of these fathers, all of these people we're naming are with us here because they are in us. We are a continuation of them. So it's good to welcome them into this gathering. So let's talk about music. All this month we're doing something creative. You're being given suggestions for something creative that you can do. We're calling this month Creativity Month, and it's when you get the newsletter, you see that we're calling it Creatively Together. This whole year, we're going to be together in one way or another. So we started out joyfully together, and we have been in many different ways of being together, safely together, present together. And this month we are creatively together. So far, you've been invited to write a haiku or a gata or both, to draw a mandala, completing the two that were offered you, or to draw your own. And this week, we've been invited to listen to a music track that Jessica put together for us, all kinds of music. And I hope that you enjoyed it, that you've been dancing to it. One of our Sangha members drew a picture, a mandala, while listening to the music. So she's combining the two things together. I can see how that would work beautifully. You could also write a gata about listening to the music, or be inspired to write a haiku about the music. If you decide to show off some of your dance moves, just make a video and send it to us. We'd love to see it. And I'd love to know, how are you interacting with these suggestions? I hope you are interacting with these suggestions. So tonight, Cornell and Jessica and I will be talking a little bit about music and how important it is in our lives, and how it nourishes our practice. I don't know that many of you knew this about me, but I was actually a piano major in college. And so music has been a part of my life since I started taking piano lessons at, I think, the age of 7, something like that. So I still am kind of partial to piano music, and I love just listening to Horowitz or some of the really great pianists. There are lots of new, wonderful musicians nowadays. So I enjoy simply listening to music. But in my practice, what I found really helpful is the very simple practice songs that we learn and that we use. I think I did not realize just how important those practice songs are until I had some kind of, I don't want to call it a crisis, but a challenge. And then I discovered that there are so many songs that really could move me out of that place of challenge and into a position where I could actually take appropriate action. One of those songs is the Gata, I have arrived, I am home. That is just so profound. I notice that when I'm kind of upset or lost in the past or the future, as soon as I recognize that, I can remind myself, come back to the present moment. I have arrived, I am home. And when I can really arrive and be at home in whatever the situation is, everything shifts, everything changes. So those little practice songs, even though they sound very simple, are actually very profound. And I know some of you know a good many of those songs. So maybe you just, sing something during the week that is resonating with you. Breathing in, breathing out. That's a good one. Happiness is here and now. That's a good reminder of what Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us, that we have more than enough conditions to be happy already. So those practice songs, I think, are what I'm going to just share with you tonight. That's the thing that's coming up for me as really, really helpful. So I'm going to pass over to Cornell and let him share with you his views on music.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you tonight. So happy you could be here. And sharing on about how music plays a role in our lives. In some ways, my story might be similar to Bobby's, just that music's been a part of my life for so long. But what I thought of tonight was, how does music connect me to others? What role does it play in my practice? How does music change the way we communicate with the world, all of us, whether we are musicians or not? And I'm thinking also in form of many other creative arts, but also those ways that we're creative, which is through our jobs, through our relationships, and all of those other parts of our lives. But a few things I was thinking of about music tonight was when we look at that or listen to the mix that Jessica sent us. And when I listened to that, what did I think when I was listening? One of the big things for me was thinking of connections, because in that mix were, there are several people that we know, their music was in there. Some of us might not know all of those people, but most of them I knew. And so I was thinking how wonderful it was that we got to hear the music of Alex, because I haven't seen Alex and Angie in person since we've been quarantined. But yet that was just like, oh, what a form to experience the friendship of Alex through that music. And I also heard Robin Hackett. She moved to Colorado 2 years ago or so. but here she was with us. And Tom Prasada-Rao, who lived here, but he lives in Washington, D.C. for the past several years. And, I saw him around last Christmas, but, what connections, and thinking through the years, how many lives have been touched by that set of people. When we began our Sunday Awakening Heart meetings, first at Cathedral of Hope and then at Unity Church, we would have these big celebrations where many musicians and other practitioners would come together. And there might be, 8 to 10 musicians on those nights. And that's, Robin, myself, Tom, we were all part of that. And I just think how many lives have been touched by all the different directions we've gone over these years. That was however many years, 13, 14 years ago, and how many lives have been touched. And so that's one of those things that really struck me when listening to that music mix. And then just a few other odd and ends about music playing a part in my life, a role in my life, or connections with others. There are on Facebook, on my personal page, there are times that I do what I call the Good Night Improv Series, where each night I create a new song, improvised, for whoever tunes in, as a way to say good night. And I've done a few over the past weeks, but at times I'll do like 2 weeks in a row every night. And I don't. At first, that was just an experiment. I'll do something because it feels nice to do. But then there were people who came every night waiting for it. And I was able to connect with some of my cousins who live very far away from me, who I haven't seen in 30 years or more. So that's one way of connecting. But then over the last several weeks and months, it seems like there's some sort of crisis or some sort of, what do I want to say? Every weekend in the news, there's something new. There's some new struggle that many of us are going through, or our country or the world is going through. And this became a way for me to do something. So it would be on Monday evenings. I would play some music because it turned out to be a way for me to sort of let go of that, needing to be so tuned into the news and stuff. Instead, it became a mindful practice. I shouldn't be, in what happened yesterday, the week before. I know this, and I know we are impacted by this, but I can be in the moment. And for me, music and movement are ways for me to be practicing in the moment. And so that's one place. Another during this quarantine that I've sometimes taken part in, every night on Zoom, there is a gathering of DJs and dancers and whoever that they meet every night. There's a Zoom channel, and there are anywhere from 200 to 1,000 people there. And they're playing electronic dance music, and I frequently tune in. And it's nice to connect with people all around the world and just see people with their cameras on, maybe dancing or maybe sitting, working. Some people with lights on in their house, flashing with the music, and people dancing. I think, what a wonderful connection through music. And so, those are just a few of the ways I think that music connects us, and something that I can do. And like that last one where there are all these people online, well, what is that about? Is it about the spectacle of so many people? Well, no, not really. It's just some of us doing whatever little ripple that we can do to support each other, and say, hey, let's dance. Let's listen to some music. Let's connect. Let's chat in the chat window. And just such a way that we can come together. So anyway, that's what I've got tonight. I'll hand over to Jessica now and see what she has to say. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to hearing your reaction to the mix on Zoom later. Or if you didn't listen to it, please do during the week, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, hi, everyone in the ethers out there. I wanted to share about music and movement. And we've been doing this night here at Dallas Meditation Center called the First Friday Dance and Meditate Night. And I really love it when we're able to gather in person because every night is totally unique depending on who comes. And at this Sangha, when we check in, I have every person invite the bell. And the bell is one of the first things I think of when I think of music and movement. Because at the monasteries, the practice is every time you hear the bell to pause, breathe in and smile. Usually you try to do about 3 breaths before you keep going. And I found actually that practice does more for me than the sitting meditation, because all throughout the day, they're disrupting your habit energy. And so that's why I love to get a bell on my computer. There's different apps that I can ring regularly. And we can also have our everyday bells of mindfulness, like a traffic stop or our cell phone. Because I found one time I had a very strong, troubling emotion, and I was processing it. And then that bell rang. And even though I didn't feel like smiling, I just kind of, and my emotion went from extreme intensity to minor just from 3 breaths. Now, when we all gather together, it almost feels like sacrilege because normally we're here in silence. And so suddenly people have instruments, they're playing loud, they're vocalizing, they're singing. And before you know it, we're all dancing too. And so I've studied dance my whole life, but I'm also shy. So I know there have been times in the past when I'd be kind of nervous, shy to dance. But then I went through a disabling condition where I couldn't walk anymore. And I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to. So now that I can walk, it's like, I don't care how stupid I look. Like, I'll be the first one on the dance floor just because I can. And I'll tell y'all, listening to music and dancing has brought me to some of the most transcendent states of consciousness. They're just pure bliss. And just with my own body moving to the music. And what we found is when we sat, there was this one track, it was a mantra over and over, just repeating while we meditated. Or I've got Reiki chants where they put healing energy in the chant. And after that meditation, it was just so much enhanced by the sound of the music. But as far as movement goes, my favorite is when the kids come here and they're like on the floor doing breakdance moves. Before you know it, all the adults get their inner kid, come in. And so what I want to invite y'all to do, if you haven't heard the track yet, or even if you had, listen to it again, invite your inner child to come with you and then dance like no one's watching. I love to also check in with my body because they'll say, the issues are in our tissues. And so sometimes if I have a pain or a stiffness, I'll just ask that part to move the way it wants and see how that goes, And with the songs that I chose, a lot of them are very different moods. So you may see how you kind of tune into these different frequencies and moods, and then how you can use your body to ground that. A lot of times I know people say walking meditation is so much easier than sitting, because when we're physically moving, the monkey mind quiets down and we're able to stay fully present. And so I'm so grateful to hear about the mandala that was drawn and everything. And I hope y'all really enjoy moving and grooving to the beautiful music from community members and beyond.
Thank you, Jessica and Cornell. I really resonate with everything you both said. And I'm so happy that we got those different perspectives. I never thought of myself as much of a dancer, but when I listened to your track, I found myself even just sitting in the chair, yeah, so it's infectious. You should try it. I think you'll really enjoy it. So just to give you a heads up, the Zoom link is in the chat box. And I think some of you may wonder, why do we start on YouTube and then move to Zoom? Because so many people are just meeting on Zoom to begin with. Well, there is a reason for it, and it's a good reason. When we're on YouTube, anybody can join. and then they can look at it later because it's recorded. It's also an opportunity for people to learn that there is a Dallas Meditation Center YouTube channel, and there's so many nice things on that channel. So we get more subscribers to it, and maybe some people become regulars because they have met up with us on YouTube. Zoom is not the same. That is, you have to know that we're going to do a Zoom meeting. In other words, if you've ever gotten online with anything else, you notice that they tell you to register and then they'll send you the Zoom link. And so there's, it's somewhat limited. And that's why we always start on YouTube. Fortunately, we've had no problems tonight. That's a good thing. But when we go to Zoom, and I hope all 20 of you will come over to Zoom so that we can see you. And even if you don't want to talk, you can listen to everybody else and you might be inspired to share. Who knows? We would love to hear your reactions to the creative things we've been doing this month. Maybe tell us how music plays a part in your life. Are there any other announcements before we do the closing?
What will we do next week?
Next week, our creative project is photography. So I think probably everybody has a phone, and most of these phones have pretty good cameras nowadays. So you're invited to take pictures. And you can even combine the things that we've done. You can take a picture of something that kind of inspires you to write a poem or a gatha. Take a picture of something that goes with the music that Jessica gave us this week. A friend of the Sangha takes pictures of what she cooks, and it makes you hungry. Really, really delicious looking food. So take a picture of something you've cooked. That's a very creative activity, cooking is. So, the possibilities are pretty much limited. So next week or during the week, take photos and send them to us so that we can post them. If you don't want your photo posted, just let us know. But it's nice to have, I think it's nice to see the things that we are all doing. It's another way that we connect. It's another way to practice interbeing. So that's next. That's what we'll do next. And next week, Kelly Moyle will be here to talk with us about photography. If you know Kelly from Facebook, you've seen some of the things, the pictures she takes. So, yeah. I do have one other announcement, which is kind of, it's almost a last minute thing, but the Richardson Interfaith Alliance is sponsoring a peace walk on Wednesday evening, beginning at 6:30. They will meet at the First United Methodist Church. And I'm going to have Anna send out the notice. So check your email to see that notice. But the event will begin in the parking lot of the church, and the mayor of Richardson will be there, the police chief, the fire chief, lots of representatives of the different faiths that are involved with the Richardson Interfaith Alliance. And then after a few words from some of these people, there will be a silent walk over to the field that's beside the city hall. And so I think it will be a really nice demonstration of our support for Black Lives Matter and for social justice and racial justice. I hope that some of you will feel that you can participate. I recognize that it may be risky for some of us, but I know that this particular group will be responsible. I would encourage you to wear your mask, and we will practice social distancing. So if you need more information, just contact me at info@dallasmeditationcenter.com.
You have a question, Bobby?
Cornell has a question.
Yes. How did that walk come to be?
Cornell said, how does that walk come to be? Well, it was actually my idea. And now I discovered that it's on the same night as Interbeing Sangha. So we will do something about. Maybe Interbeing Sangha will be a part of this event. We'll see. I'll work it out. So let's do our closing chant. Countless beings we vow to free, ceaseless afflictions we vow to end, limitless truth doors we vow to open, the deepest paths of awakening we vow to realize. Thank you to friends. We'll see you in Zoom. Are you sure? Yes.